Not everything in your life happened by chance, and the pattern becomes clearer the more you look back. There is a quiet thread running through your childhood, through moments that felt confusing, heavy, or even isolating, and it never really left you. The feeling of being different did not start recently. It was there early, before you had the words to explain it. The way you saw things, the way you reacted, the way you noticed details others ignored, it set you apart in ways that were hard to understand at the time. What if that difference was never a flaw? What if it was a mark? What if the struggles, the silence, the distance between you and others were not random events, but part of a design that started shaping you long before you even realized it? There are signs, subtle but powerful, that begin to show themselves in childhood, and most people pass through life without ever connecting them. Many people grow up trying to fit into spaces that never felt natural. They learn to adjust, to blend in, to quiet the part of themselves that feels too aware, too deep, or too intense. But that quiet voice never disappears. It stays present, guiding thoughts, influencing choices, and creating a sense that there is more to life than what is visible on the surface. This is not just emotion or imagination. Across different cultures, belief systems, and even psychological studies, there is a repeated idea that certain individuals show early patterns of heightened awareness, resilience through hardship, and a strong inner pull toward purpose. These patterns are often misunderstood, labeled as sensitivity or overthinking, when in reality they can point to something much deeper, a hidden development process that begins early and unfolds slowly over time. Childhood experiences play a powerful role in shaping identity, but for some, those experiences carry a different weight. Challenges appear earlier, lessons come harder, situations arise that force growth before it feels natural. While others move through life with ease, these individuals are pushed into awareness, into reflection, into understanding things far beyond their age. This is not coincidence. There is a lesser-known idea discussed in both spiritual traditions and modern thought that early difficulty can act as a form of preparation, building strength, clarity, and depth in ways comfort never could. It is not about punishment, it is about formation. And once this idea is understood, the past begins to look very different. In this video, you will discover 7 hidden signs that may have been present in your life since childhood, signs that suggest you were being shaped for something greater. These are not obvious signs. They are quiet, often overlooked, and easy to dismiss if you are not paying attention. But when they are placed together, they create a pattern that is hard to ignore. Each sign will connect to real behaviors, real feelings, and real experiences that many people carry but never fully understand. You will begin to see how certain traits that once felt like burdens may actually be indicators of something meaningful. The sense of not belonging, the deep thinking, the emotional awareness, the solitude, all of it may start to make sense in a new way. There is a reason to stay until the end, because not every sign reveals itself clearly at the beginning. Some of the most powerful realizations come later, when the pieces start connecting and the bigger picture forms. By the time you reach the final sign, the perspective on your own life may begin to shift. Things that once felt random may start to feel intentional. Moments that seemed painful may begin to carry purpose. And that quiet feeling that has followed you for years may finally have a clearer explanation. This is not about labeling yourself. It is about understanding yourself in a deeper and more honest way. There is also something important that many people overlook. Not everyone will relate to this message, and that is part of what makes it meaningful. These signs do not appear in every life. They show up in specific patterns, in specific ways, and often only a few people truly recognize them. That is why this topic remains hidden for so long. It is not widely talked about, and when it is often simplified or misunderstood. This video goes beyond surface-level explanations and brings attention to details that are rarely discussed. It connects emotional experience with deeper interpretation, allowing you to see things from a different angle. As you continue watching, pay close attention to what resonates. Not everything needs to match perfectly. Even recognizing a few of these signs can be enough to start seeing your life in a new light. The goal is not to convince you of anything, The goal is to present a perspective that might explain what you have been feeling for a long time, a perspective that connects your past, your present, and the direction you feel pulled toward, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. There is a quiet strength in understanding your own story, especially the parts that once felt confusing or out of place. When those parts begin to make sense, everything changes. The way you see yourself shifts, the way you see your experiences shifts, and most importantly, the way you move forward begins to change. That is where clarity starts to grow, and that is where purpose begins to take shape. Welcome to our channel, a place where deeper ideas are explored and hidden patterns are brought to light. If this kind of content speaks to you and you want to continue exploring more insights like this, take a moment to subscribe and stay connected, because what you are about to hear might not just explain your past, it might also guide your future. A quiet distance followed you from the beginning, even in rooms full of people, even in moments that were meant to feel normal. There was always a sense that something did not fully connect. As a child, you noticed things others ignored. You reacted in ways that confused people around you, and no matter how hard you tried to adjust, there was always a gap between who you were and what was expected. You learnt early how to observe, how to stay silent, how to adapt just enough to move through situations without drawing too much attention, yet inside, the feeling remained unchanged. You tried to be like others. You copied their behavior, their tone, their interests, hoping it would finally make things feel right, but it never truly worked. There was always a moment where it felt forced, where it felt like you were playing a role rather than living naturally. Deep down, you always knew you were not the same. Not in a way that made you better, but in a way that made you feel separate, like you were placed slightly outside the circle, watching everything from a different angle. This feeling did not come with clear answers. It came with confusion, with questions that had no place to be asked, and with a quiet awareness that grew stronger over time. As you grew older, this difference did not fade, it evolved. Situations that seemed simple to others felt layered to you. Conversations carried deeper meanings, and small moments held a weight that was difficult to explain. People around you moved through life with a certain ease, following patterns that made sense to them, but for you those patterns often felt incomplete. You searched for meaning in things that others passed by. You questioned ideas that were accepted without thought, and you felt a pull toward understanding that went beyond what was visible. This created a distance, not always physical, but emotional and mental. You could be surrounded by people and still feel alone, not because you wanted to be separate, but because connection never came easily. Misunderstandings became common, labels were placed on you without anyone truly seeing the full picture, and over time, you began to realize that fitting in was not just difficult, it was unnatural for you. There were moments when you wondered if something was wrong, when you questioned why things felt harder, deeper, more intense, but those moments were always followed by a quiet sense that there was a reason behind it, even if you could not explain it yet. This is where many people begin to disconnect from themselves, trying to suppress what makes them different in order to feel accepted. But for some, that suppression never fully works. The awareness stays active, the inner voice continues to speak, and the feeling of being guided by something unseen remains present. It is subtle, not loud or dramatic, but consistent enough to be noticed when you look back. Today, you will discover 7 hidden signs that may have been present in your life since childhood, signs that are often overlooked because they do not appear in obvious ways. These signs are not based on fantasy or vague ideas. They are rooted in patterns of behavior, emotional responses, and experiences that repeat across many lives, yet remain misunderstood. If even a few of these signs match your own experiences, it may not be a coincidence. It may point to something that has been unfolding quietly over time. Some of these may explain things you have been trying to understand for years, feelings you could never fully put into words, and moments that never seem to fit into a clear explanation. There is a reason these signs are hidden, because they do not stand out on the surface. They reveal themselves only when you start connecting the deeper patterns. Let's move forward slowly and begin with the first sign, not as a statement, but as a reflection of something you may have felt many times without fully recognizing its meaning. The first sign is the constant feeling of being different, not better, not superior, just different in a way that is difficult to describe. This difference often shows itself early in the way you interact with others, in the way you respond to situations, and in the way you process emotions. While others seem to connect easily, you often felt like you were on the outside, trying to understand a system that was never fully explained to you. This is not about isolation by choice. It is about a natural separation that appears without intention. It can show up in school, in friendships, in family environments, where you are present but not fully integrated. Over time, this creates a habit of observation, where you watch more than you participate, where you analyze more than you react, and where you begin to understand people without necessarily feeling understood yourself. The second sign appears through early struggles, not just ordinary challenges, but experiences that carry a deeper impact. These struggles can take many forms: emotional, social, or situational, but they often arrive at a time when you are still trying to understand the world. While others may go through a smoother path, you encounter situations that force you to grow faster, to think deeper, and to adapt in ways that feel unnatural for your age. This can create confusion, a sense of unfairness, and a feeling that life is harder than it should be. But beneath that difficulty, there is a pattern of development taking place. Each challenge builds a layer of awareness. Each hardship strengthens a part of you that might have remained undeveloped under easier conditions. The idea that begins to form here is subtle but important. You were being shaped, not punished, even if it did not feel that way at the time. The third sign is a strong sense of intuition, an ability to understand things without clear explanation. This is not about guessing or assuming. It is about knowing in a way that feels immediate and natural. You may have noticed this in moments where you sensed something before it happened, where you understood someone's intentions without them saying a word, or where you felt drawn toward or away from certain situations without logical reasoning. This kind of awareness often appears early but is rarely encouraged, leading many to ignore it or doubt it. However, it continues to operate in the background, influencing decisions, guiding actions, and creating a sense of inner direction that does not rely on external validation. Over time, this intuition becomes one of the most consistent parts of your experience, even if you do not always trust it fully. The fourth sign develops through a search for deeper meaning. While others may focus on surface-level goals, you find yourself asking questions that go beyond immediate concerns. Why things happen, what purpose events serve, and how everything connects at a larger level. This questioning does not come from dissatisfaction. It comes from a natural curiosity that seeks understanding rather than acceptance. You may have found it difficult to engage in conversations that stayed on the surface, preferring instead to explore ideas that carry more depth. This can create distance, as not everyone shares the same level of interest in these topics, but it also builds a framework of thought that allows you to see connections others might miss. Over time, this search for meaning becomes a central part of how you experience life. The fifth sign is the presence of solitude, not always chosen, but often necessary. Being alone becomes a space where you can process, reflect, and understand without external pressure. While loneliness can be part of this experience, there is also a different aspect to it, a sense of clarity that appears when you are not surrounded by noise. This solitude shapes you, it strengthens your independence, it deepens your thoughts, and it allows you to develop a sense of self that is not entirely dependent on others. It is not always comfortable, but it is often transformative, creating a balance between isolation and awareness that becomes part of your identity. The sixth sign reveals itself through misunderstanding. People may form opinions about you without fully understanding your perspective. They may label your behavior in ways that feel inaccurate, and they may struggle to connect with you on a deeper level. This can lead to frustration, to a sense of being unseen, and to moments where you question whether expressing yourself is worth the effort. But within this pattern, there is also a consistent theme. You are not easily defined by simple explanations. Your thoughts, your reactions, and your presence carry layers that require more attention than most people are willing to give. This does not make you distant, it simply means you operate on a level that is not immediately obvious. The seventh sign is a quiet sense of calling, a feeling that your life is meant to move in a certain direction, even if that direction is not fully clear. This is not about ambition in the usual sense. It is not about achieving status or recognition. It is about a deeper pull towards something meaningful. You may have felt this as a persistent thought, a recurring idea, or a sense that your path is different from those around you. Even without clear evidence, this feeling remains present, guiding your choices in subtle ways. It is not loud or forceful. It does not demand attention, but it stays consistent, creating a foundation of purpose that becomes stronger over time. It is not ego. It is a quiet knowing that does not need validation to exist. If you have followed this far, there is a reason for it, because something within these patterns connects with your own experience in a way that is difficult to ignore. This is not about coincidence, it is about recognition. Each sign may appear small on its own, but together they form a structure that reveals a larger picture. A picture where your past, your struggles, your thoughts, and your feelings are not random pieces, but parts of a process that has been unfolding since the beginning. You were never moving without direction. Even in moments that felt uncertain, there was always a form of guidance present, shaping your path in ways that only become clear when you look back. Every moment, every challenge, every realization contributed to who you are becoming, not by accident, but through a pattern that continues to develop with time. Everything begins to make more sense when you stop judging your path by what it looked like on the outside and start understanding what it was building on the inside. The delays, the confusion, the moments where you felt left behind, they were never signs of failure. They were part of a process that moves differently from what most people expect. Growth does not always look smooth, and purpose does not always reveal itself early. There were reasons why your journey felt slower, deeper, and more intense. There were reasons why certain things never worked out the way you thought they should. It was not because you were lacking, it was because you were being prepared in a way that required time, pressure, and awareness. You are not behind. You are exactly where your path needed you to be, even if it did not look that way at first. There is also nothing broken in you, no missing piece that needs to be fixed in order for you to finally feel complete. What you have carried, the sensitivity, the depth, the constant thinking, the awareness, these are not flaws. They are parts of a design that does not fit into ordinary patterns. That is why it felt difficult at times, because you were measuring yourself against standards that were never meant for you. When you begin to see yourself clearly, without comparison, without doubt, everything starts to shift. The same things that once made you question yourself begin to feel like strengths. The same experiences that once felt heavy begin to feel meaningful. And the same path that once felt uncertain begins to feel intentional. There is a quiet truth that becomes stronger the more you accept it. You were never moving randomly. Every stage, every experience, every moment of growth was guiding you towards something that is still unfolding. You are chosen, not in a way that separates you from others, but in a way that gives your life a specific direction and depth. It is not about being above anyone. It is about being aligned with something that has been developing within you for a long time. And the most important part is this: your story is not finished. In many ways, it is only just beginning. Everything you have been through is not the end of something, it is the foundation for what comes next. If this connected with you on a deeper level, if parts of this felt familiar in a way you cannot easily explain, then understand this clearly: you are not the only one. There are others who carry the same patterns, the same awareness, the same quiet understanding, even if you have never met them. You are not alone in this experience, even if it has felt that way for a long time. And sometimes, simply realizing that can change everything. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this. It helps this message reach the people who are still searching for answers, the ones who are still trying to understand their path. Stay connected, because there is always more to uncover, and the deeper you go, the clearer everything becomes.